So again, we're asked to factor completely a polynomial. Our first step is always greatest common factor. Is there a greatest common factor? So with this polynomial, we have 50x cubed y plus 72xy. So we know that this is, it's not a trinomial. We have a binomial, and that narrows down our options as far as special products are concerned. Special factors are concerned. So we're looking at, first looking at the greatest common factor. What's the greatest common factor of the coefficients? 50 and 72. Well, 50 is 5 times 5 times 2, or 2 times 5 times 5. 5 will not go into 72 because it doesn't end in a 0 or 5, but 2 will. So that means that we know that there is a greatest common factor of the coefficients of 2. And then there's an x cubed and an x, so the greatest of those shared is x. And then we have y and y, so we can factor out a y as well. So this ends up being 2xy times 25. X times x squared would make x cubed, and we factored out the y, plus 72xy, so we want 2 times 36, and then the xy is factored out. So remember, unless we're explicitly asked to factor a sum of squares, which would involve the complex number system, we don't factor a sum of squares. It would be considered prime. So if we look at what's in parentheses, we do have a binomial, but it's a sum, and it's a sum of squares, because 25x squared, that's 5x quantity squared, plus 6 squared. So since it's squared, that's considered prime. It's a sum of squares. So remember, if we're asked to factor a sum of squares, if we're told to factor a sum of squares, we would use the complex number system. But if we aren't explicitly told to factor the sum of squares, then that is considered prime, and we're done. This is factored. And all we have to do to check is to multiply the 2xy back in, distribute it. So 2 times 25 is 50. X times x squared is x cubed. And then y. Plus, distributing to the 36, we have 2 times 36 is 72. And we still have the xy. Which gives us what we originally started with, 50x cubed y plus 72xy. And remember, if we're told factor the following sum of squares using complex coefficients, then we would go ahead and factor it. But if we're not told to explicitly factor a sum of squares, we're just told factor completely this expression, then when we get to the sum of squares, that's considered prime, and we can't factor it. So this is our solution. 2x, we just factor out the greatest common factor, and then that's multiplied times what's left in here, the sum of squares. So 2xy times 25x squared plus 36, that's the factored form of 50x cubed y plus 72xy.